Hello everybody and welcome into the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series as we make a stop tonight at the first road course of the season. That's right, it's Road America. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. While qualifying is complete, drivers are getting gridded up down trackside. So let's get right over and into it with tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole, it's going to be David Traylor, puts down a 2:16.731. On his outside, one of the Noma Motorsports drivers, it's going to be Matthew Fritz in the 27, with Clinton Woodby back in third, Mark Beverly in fourth, and it's Charles Van Schaik back in fifth. Keith Burns starts sixth here tonight, with Jesse Calloway back in seventh. Michael Newman to his outside in eighth. It's going to be Jonathan Dominics, the Canadian driver in the field. He will start in ninth, and Roger Strickland rounding out your top 10. Haas Beverly and Joe Yakes going to be making up row number 6. It's Jesse Calloway and Michael Newman. Take that back, go back a little bit further to row number 7. It's going to be Colton Hardy and Evan Schilling. Jay Stinson in 15th, Jesse Wise in 16th, and then Andrew Hansley going to round out the relatively small field here tonight as he will start back in 17th. Looking at your race info, it is the Muehlberger Custom Homes 140. Again, in the Xfinity Series as we've been and will be all season. 35 laps going to be the distance here tonight around Road America. And boy, this is a fun track in many different ways. We'll talk more about that in just a second. A stage break, though, will be at lap 10, 95% fuel. 4 sets of tires, of course, 1 faster pair if you need it. Fixed setups as always, in 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. So Road America, you see it. This is one of the tracks where we're going to be turning not just left, but rather left and right. Just under 4 miles in length. Track 10 going to be starting at 91 degrees as it is 77 outside, 26% humidity, clear skies, and winds at a mile an hour. They will not be a factor. But this road course, it's one of the trickier ones because it's such a long course that really as a driver, you got to put a lot of practice just to memorize where every turn is, and much less how you're going to set up to try to make passes, where these passing zones are going to be. We're going to try to work into all that kind of here tonight. And to be honest, this is the first time that I've actually seen this series on this track here in the sim, so I'm excited for what we're going to see here tonight. You got to think that David Traylor might be one of the favorites with how good he's been at pretty much every kind of track we've been to so far. See if he can continue that trend here tonight. So we mentioned 35 laps, but again, you figure the track's about 4 miles, so it's still going to be a pretty decent race in terms of you got to get in the rhythm early. And I don't know how cautions are going to be set up, but my guess would be we're not going to see cautions, obviously, for individual spins, but not even necessarily for wrecks. I think it's either going to be set up to where it's no cautions, or it's only cautions if a certain number of incidents are met. So we'll have to see what that criteria ends up being, and how it, of course, affects tonight. You see him working on to that long back straightaway. This is where you're going to be carrying a lot of speed as a driver, and this is where we could potentially see a few passing zones. Not sure if we'll get any here or not, but we'll be using this track map quite a bit here tonight. The front stretch and then the end of the straightaway that you see them going down right now, those are pretty much 2 of your heaviest braking zones where you're really going to try to set a guy up, if you will. But, I mean, if things get spread out early, you know, even if you're somebody running towards the back, it's going to take a while to find a way to go a lap down here. So I think for everybody in the field, especially drivers who really need a good run here tonight, the mindset's got to be just keep the car clean here. Especially these first couple laps. You know the restart's going to be chaotic. You know that the first couple laps might even be chaotic. So just see if you can make it either to this first stage. And obviously they're most likely not going to have to pit within that first stage, of course. So just worry about making it these first 10 laps, kind of get a feel for the car, and then set yourself up for that 25 lap dash to the finish or so that we're going to have for the final stage. All right, here we go as we work up the hill. Pace car makes a left turn off, and we are ready to go. First road course of the season, and what a road course to have it at. Road America with the Xfinity cars. Here we go. Green flag is in the air. We're racing at Road America. First set of corners is complete. So far, so good, as it's David Traylor who's going to come out on top. Further back, we got a couple of them going wide onto the rumble strip and even into the grass. As just as I say that, there you go. First car to fully commit to the grass is going to be Jesse Wise in the 69. He quickly groups it back up, as meanwhile up front, they're working on to the first big straightaway here the night after the front stretch. David Traylor leads him into the braking zone, and he'll lead him out of it. The 27 of Fritz. He's getting a lot of pressure right now out back from Clinton Woodby. Meanwhile, Keith Prince, trouble here. Oh, more drivers overshooting it. That was Colton Hardy right there that had a close call. You see the 29 of Andrew Hansley. He has brought it to a halt. Haas Beverly, not sure if he had any issues there. But Keith Prince, we got reports that he maybe had some trouble, and that was really the first turn where these guys had to get heavy on the brakes. And yeah, it looks like for Keith Prince, he may have had some problems. Let's go back and see what happens here. Watch this from the onboard view of Keith Prince. Let's see, does he just get in too deep? I think he does here. Listen to the gearing. Gets on the brakes and just, he might have actually started wheel hopping or just a little bit too much rear brake bias. Either way, you can see that that car started hopping around in the rear. It got him loose and then ultimately got into the wall. And then the more trouble out back is Colton Hardy and a few others, including Andrew Hansley, had some issues trying to get through that first set of corners. I guess I should say second set of corners. David Traylor, though, now working down the backstretch. See the fire out of the pipes as he gets heavy onto the brakes now as they'll work up the uphill section. As we are now on the second half of the course, Traylor has looked pretty much as smooth as you could possibly be, at least up to this point. Let's hop on board with him here, and we'll actually bring up the dashboard and show you kind of how he works through the gears and the different speeds that he gets around the beautiful circuit that is known as Road America. So here we go. He works his way back onto the front stretch, the uphill section. This is going to be, again, probably the fastest part of the track all night, maybe in contention with the back straightaway. We'll have to see as of that, but this is where, if you're close, you're getting all that drafting. And so for Matthew Fritz, tries to run in the draft there, but after topping out at about 170, it's time to get back on the brakes. And I mean, you can see Traylor clips the grass. Matthew Fritz equally as loose. As boy, that car was sliding through the corner, much less driving it. So for Matthew Fritz right here, again, trying to chase down David Traylor. And, you know, now that I think about it, I mentioned the strategy of just keeping it clean these first 10 laps, but actually I think maybe do it the opposite, because you know that the only guaranteed caution of this race that you're going to get, and maybe the only caution in general, is going to be the one that we have at the stage break. So go out there and see what your car can do now. Maybe be a little bit more aggressive, because you can afford to potentially have a spin or an issue now, because you know you're getting that caution in just 8 laps. But if you have that problem, say, you know, the restart this final stage, and that's where things could certainly become a little bit of an issue. Charles Van Schaik, the man who came so close to winning it last week, not quite able to get the job done. As Roger Strickland off track, and everybody's trying to miss him here. They somehow do. That was Jonathan Dominics and Joe Yakes, or excuse me, Dominics and Schilling rather, were the first two on scene that had to miss him. It looks like gets looped back around now, going the right direction. Jay Stinson, boy, he hit something really, really hard. Let's go back and see if we can find out exactly what that was, as this is going down the front stretch. And oh, he gets booted. Man, he gets punted from out back and sends that car pretty much for just about a dead right into that concrete barrier here. Watch it again. See exactly who that is behind him here that gives him a shot. That might have been Evan Schilling. Yeah, that's the 18 of Evan Schilling here, and it's just Schilling going to get on the brakes a little too late. Maybe not even, no, I take that back. Maybe not necessarily too late. I mean, it could have been that, but at the same time, it might have just been different braking zones, and by Schilling running behind Stinson, just didn't account for the two to break that early, and once he runs into him right there, there's nothing Jay can do. Bam, big hit. That's what gives him all that front nose damage that he's going to have to wait to get repaired until, of course, we get to this stage break. Back up front, battle for the lead, still within a second. Matthew Fritz has been better a couple corners. David Traylor has been better in the others. As they work down the front stretch, Charles Van Schaik, who I just started to talk about before we had to go back and look at that close call. This was the man who came so close to getting the job done last week. Things didn't quite work out, though, as Redinger was able to get the best of him late in the going, but he wants revenge here tonight. So watch for him to potentially see if he can steal one here on a road course and continue to increase his chances of making a playoff run as we get later in the season. Then you've got Clinton Woodby back in fourth, who had a great initial start. Looked like he was actually going to be fighting for the top 3, but has since faded back to position and now sits in fourth. And you've got Mark Beverly rounding out the top 5. Joe Yakes is in 6th. Michael Newman in 7th. And as we get this far back in the pack, you can see things are getting pretty much a lot more spread out. I would say the most competitive part of this field tonight is the guys that are running within the top 3. As we're going to see a pit stop here. This is from quite a few drivers. This is interesting right here. Looks like Jay Stinson is in, Haas Beverly as well, and Keith Prince. All drivers that have brought it down the pits here. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I could assume Stinson was maybe bringing it down to get some repairs done. As for everybody else, I'm not exactly sure. Let's see if Stinson here takes 4 tires and fuel or just... There you go, that answers that. He's going to take the fast repair, get that car cleaned up, and maybe a little bit of fuel. That's going to be about it. Looks like for Haas Beverly, as of now, he has not chosen to use that fast repair, assuming he still has it, of course. And then you see the 3 of Keith Prince as well. And so those two decided to take 4 tires. That's a little bit of an interesting call. We'll have to see how that works out for them, but I wonder if this was where Haas Beverly got that damage. No, looks like he already had it at this point. So then I think the question becomes, where does he get it all at here? Let's see. This was back, I believe, on lap number 1. Did he run into somebody here? This was down the second straightaway. Gets hot on the brakes, and oh, starts to get loose, and yep, bam, big hit to the outside concrete. That's what did the damage he got. Definitely seeing a lot of different cars, and again, there's not really many places to run here at Road America. We don't see as many gravel traps as some of the other tracks, and a lot of times you get loose in a fast section, you're going to be hitting concrete either on your left or right. But for Matthew Fritz, man, I'm impressed. I mean, I will say it, I am impressed right now with the job he's done. Normally we come to these road courses, and it's not just this series. I mean, this is pretty much any series that at least I've had the chance to broadcast for. Usually there's one guy that just runs away with it. It's not even close, but that's not the case so far. I mean, Fritz is hanging strong here with David Traylor. In fact, he caught him a little bit there and won. It looks like the difference is Fritz is maybe driving it in a little deeper versus David Traylor, who's trying to drive it a little bit smoother. And boy, Fritz, it's making me nervous because that car is all over the place. We compare that up front here to David Traylor, who looks a little bit smoother, at least as of right now, gnawing on that steering wheel. As we pull the driver cam up again, there is David Traylor. Because again, he currently sits as the leader. And watch here as they get into the heavy braking zone. This is where you got to be really, really careful. Because you notice how many times they have to downshift. And if you do it just a little bit too early, you start to get those rear wheels hopping. That's where we've already seen some trouble here tonight, especially on that opening lap. Could see some more, and I would expect that we definitely will see some more for the restart of that second stage. Oh man, trouble. Charles Van Schaik. That was a big lockup right there out of the corner, and looked like he almost looped it around. That's why he had to lock it up. Watch this. From the onboard shot, did he just try to pick up the throttle too early? I don't even know if it sounded like that. I mean, it certainly sounded to me like he was rolling the corner pretty conservative. It just starts to get loose on him right as he hits the rumble strips. He does a really nice job, though, of making sure he locks it down quick enough to where he's able to save that race car and keep himself still inside the podium position. That did allow Quentin Woodby to close up a little bit on Van Schaik, has that gap down to about 2.5 seconds. Mark Beverly back in 5th, Joe Yates in 6th, Jesse Calloway 7th with Michael Newman in 8th, Evan Schilling in 9th, and Jonathan Dominick's rounding out your top 10 is just as we mentioned him. Evan Schilling maybe getting the rear tires off track there just briefly himself, as that allows the 94 to now close in a bit. We'll see if Jonathan Dominick's can make anything happen here. He's looking for a move, but at least as of right now, nothing doing yet for the 94. And Evan Schilling's going to try to slowly but surely stretch that gap back out. Meanwhile, David Traylor, speaking of stretching that gap out, he's got it up to just over a second now on second place, Matthew Fritz. Haas Beverly right there, you saw him peel off. He's going to go to the pits again, and unfortunately, looks like this car has sustained even more damage now, so he's hit something again, and you got to wonder if this time it's a little bit more terminal. Yeah, that's a massive, massive hit to the front of this car. And let's see, where does it happen at here? Does it start? Did it start down the backstretch? Yeah, it must have. I mean, he's been hitting pretty much everything but the pace car at this point. And that's nothing to say on Haas Beverly. I'm just saying that's how tough this track has been. As I'm looking here at the data bar that we've gotten, I mean, it's just like every lap we've got cars off track, cars struggling in some way or another, and right there for Haas Beverly just gets loose, and yikes. Yeah, that's probably what did all that suspension damage, is that was a pretty hefty hit. Yeah, right there. You can see that left front, it's locked up, and that's the case. You know that you're going to be going in, and he, sure enough, he's used that fast spare. He'll come back out and take another attempt at it here to see if he can maybe run just a little bit better now. Mentioned Keith Prince with an issue here. See what happens here to the 3 car. As just a little wide there, and he gets into the grass. Jay Stinson had a similar issue in a similar spot just a lap or so before. As certainly seems like there's a couple corners that are proven trickier than others for these drivers right now. But for David Traylor and Matthew Fritz, they've all been looking pretty good so far here tonight. Traylor continuing to lead the way as we are now officially halfway through stage number 1. Again, the race in total only 35 laps, as now it looks like Roger Strickland, maybe with some trouble himself here. He's slow, and this is on one of the uphill sections here. Let's see what happened here to Roger Strickland. Watch the car as he gets in the corner. Ooh, back end comes around on him, and very, very lucky that his Toyota Supra did not impact that inside concrete. That could have been really, really bad. Strickland, I think, caught a really big break right there as he was able to continue on, keep the nose of that car clean. Back live now, David Traylor, again, still being scored as your leader. Matthew Fritz in second. And I'm looking at some of the lap times here. The best lap they've ran so far is a 2:17.8, at least for your top 2. Make it your top 3. And actually, Charles Van Schaik ran a lap that was even better than that. Speaking of Van Schaik, he's had some trouble of his own now. I mean, the struggles, they continue here. And now that allows Woodby to continue to close the gap. These two might be the next battle. Let's watch Van Schaik here. This was coming up on the final corner. I think he's just going to overshoot it. That's exactly what he does. Gets in a little too deep. He's trying to turn that right front, but the car's just not biting. So he goes into the grass as well, and you could see from that view and now this view, that has allowed Clinton Woodby to close it up to just under a second. Now the distance separating him and Charles Van Schaik. And Haas Beverly, his night might be done. It is. Big damage for the 22. Haas Beverly, I mean, this thing is torn up. He has hit the wall again. And this time he's hit it significant enough that it's probably going to end his night here. Watch this. It's that same corner that he had trouble with before he went in to take the fast repair. Watch it from the roll bar here. He's just trying to get the car to turn. Too much speed. Tags the outside wall, and it hooks around on him and then slams that inside wall. And for Haas here, I mean, there's nothing he can do. I mean, once you commit, and this is what's so tough about this corner is once you commit, you're committed. You can't just get out of the throttle. You're still going to get into that outside wall. So you try to kind of set yourself up on a line and commit to it, hope it sticks. But for Haas Beverly, it certainly didn't stick right there. And look at that. Front tires off the ground. Again, huge hit. Rips the engine apart. And so that will officially, it appears, bring an end to Haas Beverly's night. So he will retire from the race, joining Andrew Hansley. And now put us down to what is going to be a 15-car field, with Keith Prince currently being scored as the last car on track, as he might be the first one to go a lap down. He sits about 1 minute and 50 seconds back from your leader, David Traylor, and that's about, I'd say, 27 to 30 seconds away from losing that first lap. Jay Stinson going to be the other car that'll be closest to losing a lap, but I mean, that's still a ways away. In fact, the track map maybe shows that best here. As you can see the gap between Traylor and still that 15th place running car of Keith Prince. Evan Schilling, I believe, may have just had another brief off track. Got some data that he did. Let's back it up for the 18 and see where he maybe overshot just a little bit. Yeah, sure enough. This is actually a full spin out here for the 18. Watch what happens here. We'll go again to the cockpit view, just carrying a little bit too much speed into the corner. Front end's gripping, rear end's not. And it was the problem there was he kind of turned in right as he hit a downshift. And the car just really, really didn't like it. It's Jesse Wise. It's that corner that we saw Haas Beverly struggling on, and see just how tricky it is. Now Matthew Fritz, your second place running car with some trouble here. What happened to Fritz right here? Did he potentially clip the grass as he's trying to reel back in David Traylor? As a result, he's been pushing the pace a little bit more here. Did Traylor get wide? Traylor did not, but Fritz certainly did, and man, that was a really, really close call there for the 27. He does a nice job of saving it, keeping himself in position here. So David Traylor still out in front. The gap between him and second place Matthew Fritz currently sits at about 1.2 seconds. But it seems like Fritz has maybe been starting to slowly but surely reel in this 54. And tire wear, not necessarily the biggest factor at these road courses. Certainly tires still matter. But the bigger thing is just the car kind of changing the way it handles as you get lighter on fuel. And it changes drastically. I mean, you got to remember, these guys are running, multiple thousands of pound stock cars around the road course, and these things don't have a lot of downforce anyway. So it feels like a tank at the start of a fuel run, and maybe feels a little bit more like a boat by the time you get to the end of one after you've, of course, dropped off a little bit of fuel. But for David Traylor, all he's concerned about right now is continuing to keep that gap that he has on second place, although Fritz has now closed it to just about half a second. You wonder, is Matthew Fritz learning a little something here each lap that he runs behind this 54 car? We'll hop back to the onboard view. By the way, if you forgot about what the weather looked like at the start of the race, well, that's okay because not much has changed. 91 degrees is the track temp, as it looks like winds at a mile an hour, and it is in sim time about 156. So middle of the day, would expect that track temp to either stay where it is or potentially even go up a little bit more. Wouldn't expect it to really cool down, except for maybe a degree, depending on if we had any cloud cover, but you can see out of the windshield, Matthew Fritz doesn't look like there's really a cloud in the sky. So now he's got the gap down to under half a second on Trailer, and this is really where he's got to be able to get a good run. Out of that final corner, there you go, David Trailer's going to peel off. First pit stop that we'll see right here for David Trailer. And so he's going to go in. This should be, I believe it would be just fuel. But we'll have to see exactly what he decides to take. And by the way, I know we mentioned in race info what the fuel percentage was looking like. 95% fuel. I'm surprised, to be honest, that they have to pit right now. I thought for sure they'd be able to go a bit longer here. I mean, you figure 8 times 4, they have not ran that many miles on this tank of gas, but definitely very interesting to see Trailer bring it down to the pits here, and I was curious if anybody would follow. It doesn't look like they have, so David Trailer here as he brings it in. Let's see what he takes here. He's going to prop up the left side, so he'll be taking at least left side tires. And let's see if they go over to the right side and do the same. They do. So it's going to be 4 tires and fuel for David Trailer as he'll work his way back out on track. And now, you know, I wonder if the other question here, and again, this is something that I did not get confirmation on, is I'm still assuming that we have that stage break, or a caution rather, at that stage break, but if for some reason we don't, then that could potentially give us some of the answers on why we're seeing pit stops right now, although Matthew Fritz staying out. I think right now he's got himself in pretty good position to grab some stage points of his own, as he currently sits just about 8 seconds ahead of Charles Van Schaik and 23 seconds ahead of third place Clinton Woodby. Keith Prince was getting closer and closer to being a lap down, but by David Trailer making that pit stop, he'll be okay, at least for now. Trailer currently sits back at 8th, and again, he's going to be relying on everybody else to make their pit stop before he'll be able to cycle back closer and eventually to the front. Clinton Woodby, he's now got himself in the gravel trap. The 92 is going to try to work back on track, but looks like he's going to lose a spot to the 55 of Mark Beverly. Might lose one here to Jesse Calloway as well, who's in the number 4 711 Camaro. He's going to be able to hold on there. Jesse Wise now, a little bit more trouble himself. Looks like he's okay. Now Mark Beverly, he's going to have a little bit of issues there as he just clipped the grass, I believe. But watch this for Clinton Woodby here, as he's just going to overshoot and get into the gravel trap. And oh, actually, when that right front tire hit the rumble strip, it's kind of interesting the way it made that car jump around. And as he gets into the gravel, though, he does a good job of keeping it rolling so that he doesn't get stuck. Unfortunately, though, you know, he was kind of fading either way, but lost a position as a result. Charles Van Schaik starting to close it up now on Matthew Fritz a little bit. And for Fritz, you wonder, is he either pushing the pace too hard, or is he all of a sudden not pushing the pace enough? Big lockup, and now, that time Fritz, he's going to get into the gravel. Man, this 27, he is all over the place, especially getting into that first corner. As much as he's pushing it right now, there's really not necessarily a need to, because Fritz is already in pretty good position relative to where just about everybody else is. David Trailer's already made a pit stop, and so he's got no pressure out back yet, but if he keeps making mistakes, he certainly will shortly, as you see Charles Van Schaik now down to 4.5 seconds back. By the way, this lap or next lap will be the end of the stage. We'll see what these guys decide to do. I forgot if they do it on lap 10 or at the end of lap 10. I think we'll have an idea based off a caution. If for some reason we didn't see a caution at the end of lap 10, then that would imply to you that they were not throwing a caution for the stage break here tonight, but I would assume they still are. Still very, very interesting, though, to see David Trailer pit where he did there. That's why it still got me thinking a little bit, because to give up all that track position when he arguably had one of the 2 fastest cars of the night just doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense. So it's 27 of Fritz. Boy, you see him still drifting around here as he'll work into the, I forgot if they call this turn the roundabout or the carousel. Similar to Watkins Glen, a little different, but the way it's set up. And again, man, there you go again. Fritz just overshoots the gap and overshoots the track limit, if you will, and gets into the grass. Now Van Schaik will close it down to just about 2 seconds. As they work onto that straightaway, Fritz gets loose again. Van Schaik will close even more now. And if you're Matthew Fritz, how does this change the mindset? I mean, I think he's committed right now to staying out to at least, if nothing else, try to get some stage points. But At the same time, I wonder if he doesn't consider pitting here as soon as he can to try to get 4 Goodyear tires filled up with fuel and try to maybe reset here, as he has certainly burned off any grip that he had with those tires early on in this run. Van Schaik now has it down to just about a second. See if caution gets thrown this time as Fritz crosses the line, or if they wait until the end of it when he crosses for the start of lap 11. And he works up the hill, down the straightaway, and across the start-finish line. Matthew Fritz, there you go, caution is out, so that will officially wrap up the stage. Matthew Fritz is your stage winner. So again, that leaves me with even more questions on why exactly David Traylor decided to pit. Either way, good stage win there for Matthew Fritz, and boy, he was hanging on for dear life right at the end of that stage, but it works out, so he'll grab some stage points and have a chance to get himself back in position here after they all pit for fuel and tires and set back up for a restart in the final stage. All right, the cars are going to catch the pace car, and then they'll all make their pit stops, and it'll be the first one of the night for many. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Road America.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. 3x3. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Road America with the Muehlberger Custom Homes 140 here for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. As we bring you back in live, Matthew Fritz still being scored as your leader. As of course we saw that first round of pit stops for a lot of drivers under this yellow flag, and I wanted to take you back to it here. And before we do that though, this is what we saw for the pit sequence, which is what made this really interesting to me here. Hold on. See if we can bring this up for you and show you exactly what I'm talking about right here. And looks like, oh, maybe we can't right now. Yeah, it's not pulling up for us, so either way, we'll leave it be as we go back live now. And what we will go ahead and do is see if we can't get ourselves a quick interview here with your stage winner, Matthew Fritz. Let's see how he's feeling right now. Hey, Matthew, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you get the job done there in the stage, and boy, it looked like you were hanging on for dear life. How was the handling doing there, especially towards the end?
It was very loose. The tires are wearing pretty good because the track's very hot. But, yeah, I was surprised David pitted there, and I'm just happy to get a stage win first of the year. So I love road courses, so hopefully we get a W.
Well, you've looked good so far for a chance of fighting at that win, but now we're going to see the second stage here. It's going to be 20, looks like somewhere around 23 laps or so to go. Do you have a plan in terms of what you're going to do for pit strategy here? And are you going to try to maybe save a little bit more tire at the start of the run this time?
Yes, definitely save more tire. I was trying to run down David, and we were both running really hard. Yeah, 23 laps. It's gonna be a long run, so we just gotta keep it on the track, and then we'll go forward.
Sounds like a plan. Well, hey, Matthew, we appreciate you talking to us. Congrats again on the first stage win of the season, and we'll see if you can cap it off with a win here tonight.
I appreciate it, Austin.
There you go. That is one of the Noma Motorsports drivers, by the way, and good to see Matthew having a good night when some of his teammates are having a bit of a rough one. So we saw Stinson with the earlier damage, and for Jay Stinson right now, he sits back in 14th, but that car is clean. And this is really everybody's second big chance here, is going to be this restart. If you didn't make it happen the first time, you certainly got to make it happen here the second time. So lights are still on the pace car. That means that we'll be going around this nearly 4-mile track under caution at least once more. And then if they don't go off this time, it'd be at least 2 more. I think they'll probably get turned off this time. So for Matthew Fritz and really everybody here, I'm still very curious in terms of fuel mileage, how far they can make it. You figure, try to make it 23 laps. That would take you to probably somewhere around, I don't know, 80 miles if I had to guess, maybe even more than that. So here you go, Fritz is going to pit. So actually, we're not going to get the one to go yet. That may be why we didn't see that 27 coming just yet. Let's see here, though. David Traylor is going to take over the lead, so he stays out. Very interesting strategy call as Fritz decides to go back in. And do the lights go off? No, they don't. They will stay on. So we will go ahead and continue our pace laps here at Road America. This will give us a restart now with even less laps to go. Probably at least 20, 22, maybe even 21 at this point. Now, granted, not to say that that's too short of amount of time that they'll have left. But either way here, I mean, you know, you heard Matthew Fritz say you're going to have to get in a rhythm, right? Like, it's going to be a long run. We know that, but for David Traylor at the same time, as much speed as he had out of the gate, and now that he's played some strategy, what's going through his mindset? Is it going to be try to save a little more tire for him at the start, or is it going to be do exactly what you did in stage 1, which seemed like it was working again until he made that pit stop it is, which, I mean, I'm still personally not exactly sure why he decided to make that stop, and with that being the case, what better way to find out than maybe seeing if we can't ask him ourselves here. Let's go see if we can pull up David Traylor here for a quick interview and see if we can ask him a little bit about his strategy call right there. Hey David, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, we had a chance to talk to your stage 1 winner, but I wanted to bring you up here because I'm kind of curious about what the strategy call was there. You looked really fast. You looked good. Next thing we know, we see you on the pits there with just a few laps remaining in the stage. What was the call there?
Just want to flip the stage. It's if I can not have to pass anybody the whole race, that'd be ideal. I don't know how to pass. I bought this track about 2.5 hours ago. So I'm still kind of learning it here. Fritz definitely has speed back there, and now he's got fresher tires. So we'll see. I know I've got some speed, but after about 5 or 6 laps, the rears are pretty much gone. So, like I said, just wanted to flip the stage. Knew I'd be good on fuel, or one stop from here. So I wanted to see if I could mix up the strategy a little bit. Granted, there's not more cars to do it, so Fritz doesn't have to pass but one guy get back to me. Thankfully, though, Joe's got some speed too, so we'll see how this turns out.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for giving us some insight there on the strategy. And David, you look good so far. So we'll see if we're talking to you again at the end of this race.
Hope so. Thanks, Austin.
And we will. And want to make sure that we get David Traylor back down to his team. So give me just a moment here. We'll make sure that we go ahead and do that before we get focused back in. Is David Traylor one of the white knuckle racing drivers? Let's see. Did he get his way back down there? Okay. Yes, he did. Back with teammate Clinton Woodby. So there you go. All right. Clinton Woodby, by the way, he's been doing pretty good here tonight as well. Maybe not quite as good as his teammate, at least not yet, but Woodby still had some speed, and I think he's working to see if he can maybe pick up a little bit more speed as this race continues on. And as I apologize, we're going briefly off screen for just a moment as I'm trying to make sure that we have everybody set up here for the final stage. And so there we go. All right, lights are again off on the pace car, so that means that we are going back green this time. For David Traylor, Joe Yakes. They're going to line up 2 by 2 here. And, oh, well, never mind. Lights are back on the pace car. So whatever the delay was, it means that we are going to try it yet again here. As Colton Hardy got off track. Boy, what in the world? I got to assume this might have been the 97 trying to catch the field here, and in the process, made a mistake. Let's see if that's what it was. That's exactly what it was. Just overshot a little bit, gets in the gravel, and ends up leading to a delay of the caution flag. So, looks like Colin Hardy's okay now, though. He will indeed catch the field. But now this will set us up with a restart with just 22 laps to go. So even less laps now. And I think that's what David Traylor wants to see, obviously. Now, everybody's still, from the sound of it, going to have to make a pit stop. Everybody should be good on a one stop, but, I mean, even when it's, you know, still a one stop, the less laps, the better if you're the leader, especially if you got slightly older tires. But with Traylor saying that the rears kind of wear off after just a handful of laps or so, you wonder, does that mean Fritz, will he push the issue since he feels like maybe he's got kind of that advantage over Traylor? Or does Traylor try to push the issue since these tires have had a chance to kind of cycle and cool down a little bit? That's going to be kind of the big question, the interesting part about it, if you will. But if you're just tuning in, we certainly appreciate you being here. You're watching the Muehlberger Custom Homes 140 for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. First road course of the season, but not the only one. So a lot of drivers using this opportunity to get comfortable the road course. And, you know, for what it's worth, I mean, Road America, easily one of the most technically challenging road courses of any of the options you could possibly have. You compare it to a track like Watkins Glen or Sonoma, and those two tracks almost feel like a walk in the park after you've ran this one. And I know I mentioned road courses, and we'll talk about the schedule later, but the next road course that we're scheduled to go to is going to be pretty far back in the season. In fact, I take it back. I thought for sure we had Mid-Ohio in there somewhere, but I am not seeing it. At least not as of right now, so this may very well be the only road course of the season. So scratch everything that I just talked about with taking notes here to have something to work with for some of the later tracks we go to, as it appears that will not be the case, and instead, it's going to be kind of a one-off here tonight. All right, so as they're about halfway through the long 4-mile pace lap before they'll get back up to full speed. They get ready to work their way down the short chute before they get on to the long backstretch. And then they'll work their way through the uphill section and get ready to go back green. David Traylor's going to have the advantage, by the way, in terms of lane choice. He picked that right side. And so he'll have the advantage getting into the first corner and the second corner. But if somehow Yakes could stay next to him the entire way through, well, I said that, and now all of a sudden, I'm looking like I'm incorrect here, because now David Traylor has swapped to the outside. So the 54 has actually chosen to take that high side. So technically, if they can drag race towards one, Joe Yakes might actually have the advantage now. That'd be if he can hold with Traylor. And that if is going to be the big question, because Traylor will have control here. As soon as they get to that restart area, Traylor's probably going to gun it and see if he can't get away from this 87 car before they get down to the corner. Based off all the troubles that we had on that last restart, you better be ready here if you're up front. I would be watching very, very closely for any cars near the back to potentially overshoot, get in hot and cause some stack-ups, and a couple guys getting spun here into these first set of corners, especially that first back straightaway once everybody's up to speed, as they are just about through the uphill section. And that means that we are going to set ourselves up for the final corners here as we now look back towards the top of the hill. And for David Traylor, he will watch the pace car make that right turn. Noticed earlier I said left turn. Tonight, it's a right turn. And as it does so, field back in the hands of the 54 and the 87. Here we go. It's going to be the final stage tonight. 22 laps to decide it here at Road America. Green flag is back in the air. And it's a good restart for both cars on the front row. But David Traylor, he's going to get a little bit of a better jump as he will beat Joe Yakes to the throttle and through the gears down towards turn one. But now the 87 is going to try to draw back even. he won't be able to do it. Yates and Charles Van Schaik, they're the two. They're going to be stuck side by side as they work their way around the trees here. We'll see if there's a clearing, and there is not. So we'll go back to the TV view. I was trying to see if everybody got through clean from the aerial shot. We just weren't able to see it there. Now as they get through the clearing in between the trees, you can see the separation is, Charles Van Schaik, Matthew Fritz get together. That causes a big stack up as Fritz is going to lose some time. Now Van Schaik's going to get doored by Mark Beverly. And that is not what Van Schaik wanted right there. That's going to cost him quite a bit of time as they now work down towards the second heavy braking zone. Michael Newman, he's going to overshoot it. He gets into the outside concrete, keeps it locked down. And looks like he will be able to get it back rolling eventually. Fritz with some damage to the rear end. I wonder if he got some help from out back in that contact, or if that was something maybe from the first turn. I don't know. Let's go back and look at it here. They've got a little separation up front, so while we have a chance, let's go watch what happened here for Matthew Fritz. As we'll back it all the way up to where I believe he got hit in the back here, and I wonder if that contact came from Charles Van Schaik, and if it did, if that led to maybe... Well, no, he had that damage at this point, so this had to be damage that occurred in the first corner, and yeah, it's exactly what it was. As they work through here, the 23 checks up, Fritz has to check up, still checking up, and then he just gets tagged in the back by Jesse Calloway. That gives some damage to the 23 Van Schaik. Woodby's in the grass, and then as they get into the next corner here, Fritz looking a little bit wide. Van Schaik's going to gun the throttle, and then they just kind of get together, and when they do, stacks them up, and boy, they lost a whole bunch of momentum as now Fritz tries to recover as he finds himself back in fifth, currently behind Jesse Calloway and Clinton Woodby. Has a pretty good run on those two down the straightaway. Doesn't take it, though, so he'll tuck back in line. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, David Traylor, that is all he could have asked for. He said he was worried about passing, felt like he couldn't do it here, so took the risk to kind of flip the stage, grab that track position. And right now, it's looking like a pretty good strategy call. He's got himself already a second plus, ahead the 87 of Joe Yates. And if you're Joe Yates right now, I mean, what do you got for this 54? He's going to probably try to keep him at least still within, I don't know if I want to say arm's reach, but within the same zip code. So that if he makes any sort of mistake, he'd be there to capitalize. And for Matthew Fritz, I mean, now this changes your strategy. You go from maybe playing it slightly conservative to now you got to be pretty much aggressive every lap, because you've got a lot of time that you got to make up on that 54 and, 21 laps, which I know is a decent amount of time, but when you kind of put it more in hindsight, it's not really all that much time. So we'll see if Matthew Fritz can find a way to do it. Right now he sits about 5.3 seconds back from your leader. And remember, we saw him really catching Traylor in the long run last time. Jesse Wise with some trouble here as he's looped it around in the grass. See what happened here to the 69 of Wise. Now let's watch it from the chopper view here. 69 is going to just get a little bit wide, and then the back end just starts to slide, keep slide until eventually loops it around. As he gets in the grass here, he's going to just take it for a long loop, gets it back on some asphalt, and then back through the grass so that he's able to get back on track. Basically just makes a giant zero there, giant circle, whatever you want to call it. And unfortunately for Jesse Wise, that now moves him to the last car on track. Roger Strickland currently sits in 14th. Then it's Jay Stinson up in 13th. Evan Schilling in 12th with Keith Prince in 11th. Jonathan Dominics in 10th. Michael Newman 9th. Colton Hardy in 8th. Mark Beverly in 7th with Clinton Woodby in 6th. Jesse Calloway 5th. Charles Van Schaik in 4th. Matthew Fritz 3rd with Joe Yates in 2nd. And David Traylor still leading the field as now Evan Schilling, just as we mentioned him, maybe he had clipped the grass just a corner ago, but he seems to be okay as they rock it on to that back straightaway. Boy, what a cool camera angle that one is. David Traylor will be looking for the 20 lap to go signal next time around. In the 54, he said, still expecting one pit stop. The bigger question is going to be, when does he make that pit stop? Does he try to go in a little bit sooner, or does he try to go in a little bit later? Or do you split it even right down the middle and make sure that you run half the laps on this set of tires, the next half a lap, or the rest of the laps on a different set of tires? Or do you try to stretch the fuel run? David Traylor working up the hill, and it will now officially be 20 laps to go here at Road America. So with that, we're going to take another quick break. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. We'll be back here at Road America.
flag is in the air. We are racing.
3x3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Road America as we hop on board again with your leader, David Traylor. He's got the J.C. Newman Cigar Company Toyota Supra. It was close to who led the most laps here tonight with what Matthew Fritz was able to lead, but still goes to David Traylor. He led majority early, and he has led all since the restart here of the second stage. 19 laps to go, and you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, this thing's almost said and done. That is not the case. We still got a long ways to go. Again, it's a 4-mile road course, and they still have a pit stop that they've got to make in order to be good on fuel. Joe Yates still hanging tough, though, in the wake, but he is about a second and a half back. Matthew Fritz finally able to get back to third, but still a lot of ground to make up. And just, I know I said it's a long time, but still don't know if it's enough time for Fritz to find his way back to the front. Going to be an interesting one to watch as the rest of the field, at least further on back, still has some battles of their own they're trying to settle out, as this is Evan Schilling versus Keith Prince. Prince is down 3 positions from where he started this race at. Evan Schilling is up 4. And you've got Jonathan Dominics, he's down 2. Jay Stinson is now up 3. So a couple guys who struggled early are turning it into a more positive run. And then a couple of the guys who were really good early now starting to maybe struggle here a little bit with 19 laps to go. And so I know we brought it back here, and we'll keep it live, but I do want to go back to the side-by-side screen this time to show you what the rest of the schedule is looking like here for the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series. Tonight we made our stop at Road America. Next week it'll be off to Rockingham before we head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and then on October 25th it will be at Talladega Superspeedway, and we are looking forward to that. That is certainly going to be a fun one. Then it's off to Iowa, followed by Charlotte to open up November. Then we head to Worldwide Technology Raceway. That's Gateway, followed by the Milwaukee Mile. No racing on Thanksgiving. Then we head to Atlanta, followed by Michigan and Texas before we head off for the Christmas break on December 27th. So that's what the schedule is looking like. And now, well, we've had a couple incidents on the track. Want to make sure everybody gets this all sorted out. Looks like they have. Jesse Calloway was the most recent driver. I believe he may have just had a brief off track. No major incident. Yeah, that seems to be the case. Is the 4-car. He's got a good run going right now. Sits in 6th and still has that car clean. Don't believe he's had to use his fast spare for any reason here tonight. But as I was getting ready to say, I know we talked about just now what the schedule's looking like, but let's briefly, at least briefly, mention exactly what the points are looking like, at least as of this race here tonight, and to see what drivers can expect going forward. And this was after, and again, we skipped last week's race due to, of course, Hurricane Helene, so that race did not happen. So after the race previous to that, the man leading in points was Charles Van Schaik, and then sitting second in the points, at least after that race, was Eric Hegdahl. It was David Traylor in third, with Kenneth Redinger in fourth, and Mark Beverly sitting top 5, rather rounding out your top 5 for those points positions. All right, so as we do officially bring it back now, David Traylor still leading the way, but we're looking at Jesse Calloway here in the 4-car. Mark Beverly just behind him in 7th, Colton Hardy in 8th, Evan Schilling in 9th, and then Keith Prince currently rounds out your top 10. Prince lost that position to Schilling. as Colton Hardy now is going to try to fend off the 18. And if you're Evan Schilling right here, I mean, keep going. He's already picked up 5 spots. He's broken into the top 10, but he wants to break it open even more than that. And the next man up, though, being Colton Hardy, that's going to be a tough pass. Hardy's been pretty strong all night, minus a couple issues, though. And for a lot, you know, I bet you, oh, well, just as I say it, the 97 slips up. That's going to cost him now. Schilling will draw even closer, but I was getting ready to say, I mean, this is one of those tracks that I think David Traylor, you know, I know he was maybe the only one we got to hear actually admit it, but I think it might be this way for a lot of the drivers in the field tonight, where this isn't a track that you see ran too often. Not in many leagues. You don't get to see it in the officials very much either, in this car at least. So for a lot of guys, this might be their first time kind of running this track combo, especially in a race. So for anybody who didn't practice, even if you did practice, kind of expect to have some mistakes here tonight, but the idea was to make them in the first stage where you know you'll have a caution to bail you out, and then hopefully not make any here in the second stage when you realistically know that you're probably not going to have any sort of a caution that could bail you out. And David Traylor does a good job of continuing to execute, and the gap was hanging around 1.5 seconds or so for a little while, but all of a sudden now Traylor has started to stretch it out as Joe Yates has fallen back slowly but surely to the 23 of Van Schaik, who has found a way around Matthew Fritz. This is really where most of the battling is at right now. We'll hop on board here with Matthew Fritz, as both him and the 23 of Van Schaik have pretty heavy damage to their rear bumpers after some contact on the opening lap of this stage. And so with when we went back green, again, which was about 22 laps to go, if you're splitting this stage in half, then you could, you know, you want to go in right around lap 11. If you're going to try to run this stage long, then you run until you're out of fuel. And if you're going to try to short pit it, then you're going to go in as soon as that fuel window opens. And what that exact number is, I'm not exactly sure, but certainly got to know it's a little bit more than 10 for these drivers, as they were all technically able to make it to the end of stage 1 without having to make a pit stop. Well, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you being here, watching the Asphalt Outlaws Racing Xfinity Series at Road America. Again, a lot smaller field than we're used to seeing. It's a road course. That's kind of what you expect. But, I mean, the guys that have shown up, they've shown out, put on a pretty good show up to this point, as David Traylor now extends his lead up to over 5 seconds on Charles Van Schaik. Joe Yates sits back in third, still Matthew Fritz in fourth, and Clinton Woodby rounding out your top 5. And while they're spread out, don't get a chance to do it often, but here we go. How about a little crank it up at Road America? All right, and that's going to do it for tonight's segment of Crank It Up. I hope everybody enjoyed 16 laps to go. Again, still plenty of time here for anything to happen. One thing we know probably won't be happening is that yellow flag. Matthew Fritz back up to 30. He was able to get back around the 23 of Van Shake. Problem is, he has unfortunately lost even more time in the process. Joe Yakes now just over 7 seconds behind your leader, and Fritz is going to go around into the tire barrier. Goes the 27. He's going to loop it back around, but watch out. That's a dangerous portion of the racetrack to spin here. Can everybody else miss him? They do. Clinton Woodby's going to be able to get by as well. And for Fritz, after winning the stage and having a good day, goes from bad to worse after the trouble on that restart for the second stage. I should say the final stage. Point is, though, for the 27 here, this is going to probably end his chances of grabbing the win here tonight. Let's go back and look at it. This was right as he was getting ready to transition to the uphill section. This is, again, at the, I believe, the end of the long straight, or just about the end of the long straight here. Yeah, that's exactly where it is. Let's hop on the cockpit view and see, does he just get in a little too deep, or is it start wheel hopping on him? No, it's actually he gets on the throttle a little bit too early. You hear the rear tires start to spin. And as they do so, it just loops the car around. Really never gives them a chance to even catch it. It was right before they work into the little chicane that transitions into the uphill. So for Matthew Fritz, yeah, that, again, he's got some damages now as well to go with it. And so that's going to end his chances here tonight without some miracle happening. But, I mean, with just 15 laps to go, just don't think it's going to be enough time for that 27 to recover, at least not to have a chance at a win. Might be able to recover to a top 5, though, still, as right now he currently does sit in 5th, and it's about 20 seconds behind your leader, David Traylor. This Traylor works back into the carousel, or the roundabout, whatever you want to call it. He has looked pretty much the smoothest of anybody in the field here tonight. I mean, let's hop on an onboard view with him here for a lap since we have the chance to. And just watch the dashboard and watch his hands here. I mean, you know, we've been on a couple different onboard views, and a lot of the drivers, they just look like they're really, really out of shape on a lot of different areas of the racetrack. David Traylor, it just doesn't look like that. I mean, look how smooth he is here as they work down the straightaway. Gets a nice run, then on the brakes, does a little trail braking as he hits the downshifts, makes sure to keep the car straight, and then gets a good exit, sets himself up for the uphill portion right here. And the other thing I noticed that he's doing that some other guys haven't is he's a little bit more aggressive with the rumble strips that are on the apexes of some of these corners. And so let's see if we see it right here. Watch what he does. Notice how much he hugs that rumble strip. But doing that, it seems like he's been able to get a little bit more grip through the corner, at least than everybody else has. Wonder if that's potentially been helping the 54 out here tonight, as he now sees just 14 laps to go as we inch closer and closer to that final pit stop. See Traylor hit near 175 right there down the front stretch. Van Shake and Joe Yakes pass for second as Van Shake was able to get around Yakes. And now he will set his sights to see if he can find a way to pick up 7 seconds to track down your leader. Boy, with the amount of damage that Van Shake has on that rear bumper, I'm surprised that that car is running as fast as it is. I know it's a road course and it's not as dependent on aerodynamics as we see at some of the ovals, but still, I mean, this thing's certainly pretty banged up right now. And you wonder for Van Shake, if we make it to that pit stop, he takes that fast repair, if all of a sudden he's running a little bit better. That would be my question that we're going to have to wait to find out. Clinton Woodby, who sits back and forth, he is 18 seconds currently behind your leader. And then Jesse Calloway battling out with Matthew Fritz right here. That's a battle for 6 as Fritz had fallen another spot since spinning it into the tire barriers just a few laps ago. Matthew Fritz, he's really just been trying to kind of work on getting back in a rhythm here and trying to recover in that 27, but it's not been an easy thing to do so far, as it seems like, at least right now, kind of continuing to struggle here to track down Jesse Calloway. Fritz gets wide again, and that allows Calloway to creep away just a little bit more. Mark Beverly sits back at 7th, and he's kind of on an island all by himself. You see it on the track map there, nobody around, nobody near in front, nobody near out back. Evan Schilling in the same position, as is Keith Prince, Michael Newman, and Jonathan Dominics. And then you've got a little 2-car action all the way at the back. The 12th place running machine of Jesse Wise. And then looks like Roger Strickland, who sits in 13th, is trying to hang with him here. And then the last, but certainly not least, 2 cars that we've got out on track, it's going to be Jay Stinson in 14th, Colton Hardy in 15th. And for Colton Hardy here, he is in danger and getting ready to be lapped by the 54 of David Traylor. Trailer has closed that gap on the 97, and he now has it close enough where he's probably going to make the move by the time we get to the end of this lap right here. As they start to work through the uphill portion, looks like Colton Hardy's going to decide to peel off. He'll go to the pits, and so now that's going to hand, well, not really a position, but he'll hand his lap over to David Trailer, who puts another one a lap down now. So that moves us down to just 14 cars on the lead lap. Started with 17, and of course we did have 2 retire from incidents. All right, we're going to take another break. Stick with us. We're going to go side by side, and we'll be right back as David Trailer leads at Road America.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to Road America. David Trailer, you saw it while we were on break, making his pit stop, as a couple of others have had trouble in the process. We're going to have to go back through some of those, but right now you can see more drivers in the pits. This should be the final stop for all of them here, as we know we're not going to be headed into overtime, so everybody will be good to go on fuel now, as it'll set us up for somewhere about 12 and a half laps to go now, as David Trailer makes his way back out on track. Charles Van Shake, a different portion of the track, as he has stayed out for now. Mark Beverly into his box, as is Jesse Calloway and Evan Schilling. But let's go back and look at a few of these incidents that happened kind of right as we came back from break. Different points of the racetrack here. For Jay Stinson, saw some damage. I thought it was from this incident here, but it may have been actually from something separate. Watch the 2 as he's hard on the brakes, and is he just going to overshoot it a little bit? Does he have a separate issue? No, just overshoots it a little bit. Doesn't seem like anything major there. Pretty cut and dry. Ooh, looped it around. That's what it was. And then the tire barrier's kind of in the way there, so he had to end up backing up, and boy, that cost him quite a bit of time. Then Keith Prince crashed, had an issue here. Let's see what it was. The number 3 car. See Joe Yates closing the gap, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was just overshooting, and ooh, that's a hard hit. Oh my goodness, that was close for Joe Yates. Wow, that was almost. I mean, that could be race-ending damage potentially for the 3. I don't know if he's got a fast spare, but for Joe Yates, I mean, it does not get closer than this. Watch this from the onboard view. He's going to see all this and has hardly any time to react. Watch this. So he sees the 3 get into the wall. He's going to try to shoot by, but as the 3 bounces up, phew, man, he realizes that he's got to go back low, and boy, boy, for Keith Prince, you feel, because he had been doing a great job getting back up here and getting into a better position. Then unfortunately it's not going to matter, as, and, even if he's got a fast pair, the time and track position that he's going to lose from this. As right there, big hit, bounces him almost back to the other concrete barrier before that car eventually comes to a halt. And then Jesse Wise, we get reports that he may have had an issue as well as he gets into the grass here. Looks like he gets back on track there, but is it going to be the same incident? Yes, it is. 69 into the outside wall he goes. Now it hooks back. Oh, man. That turn's collected quite a few victims here tonight. It started with Haas Beverly early, and now late collects 2 more with the 3 of Keith Prince and the 69 of Jesse Wise. And it's just, we said it once, but I'll say it again. It's just a turn that you have to commit to, and if you're off that line even just a little bit, this is the result. Big hit into the outside wall, and then an even bigger hit back into the inside wall for Jesse Wise. We'll give you one more look at this here before we go back up front. Watch the 69. Him getting into the grass here kind of hindered him being able to set up the corner the way he normally would. And man, massive impact. That will end his night. And so as we do go back live now, up front, leading the way currently is Charles Van Schaik, as it is 11 laps to go. And we'll be closing in on 10 to go here when he crosses the line next time. For Van Schaik here, though, I still know that he's got to make that pit stop. The question is going to be, when does he make it? David Traylor, who sits in second, is currently being scored just about 30 seconds or so behind, maybe 29 seconds behind that number 23 car. Joe Yates in third. He sits about 12 seconds behind David Traylor. And then you've got Clinton Woodby back in fourth. Jesse Calloway in fifth with Michael Newman in sixth. Matthew Fritz back in seventh. Jonathan Dominics in eighth. Mark Beverly in ninth. And Evan Schilling currently rounding out your top 10. Well, if you're just tuning in, again, we appreciate you being here for Road Course Night at Road America. And I know from up here in the booth, in terms of, it's a little bit tougher to commentate these ones. I'll be honest, everybody gets spread out. It's not much to talk about. It's still early in the season. There's not a ton of storylines, so I appreciate everybody sticking around for this one here as we're closing in on the final stretch. Here next time around as Charles Van Schaik crosses the line. This time it'll officially make it 10 laps to go, but instead he's going to make the right-hander as he will now head for the pits to make his final stop for fuel. This will give the lead up now to David Traylor once he makes his way around. In fact, you'll see it on the track map right here. There's David Traylor in the yellow dot. Or I guess I should say he is the yellow dot. And so he is just now making his way around the final corner, and he'll start to head up the hill down towards turn number 1. And for Van Schaik here, just no way he'll be able to maintain the lead. Traylor's going to not just go by him, but he's going to really, really fly by here. And now the question becomes, who else gets around the 23 of Van Schaik here? I think that Joe Yates might also be able to get by, as there goes David Traylor. He will now take the lead as Van Schaik is currently still in the pits. Van Schaik, did he take that fast spare? Appears that he did. Joe Yates, here he comes, just now across the start-finish line. The 23 is trying to get back on the gas, but the 87 of Joe Yates, there you see him on the camera view. He just gets by. Well, the fourth place car of Clinton Woodby, will he be able to get by as well here? Doesn't look like Woodby's quite going to be able to catch, so Van Schaik is going to merge out and blend back in the third position, at least for now. See if he's able to keep it that way. And so now, I mean, the stage, it's pretty much set for the rest of the way. Assuming, of course, assume is a bold word, and we've seen crazier things happen, but assuming nothing wild does happen here for David Traylor, this is basically put the cruise control on and ride around for 9.5 more laps, and he will grab his first road course win of the season. For everybody else, it's fighting for whatever positions are around you, if there is anybody around you, because, I mean, at this point, they have gotten gapped out pretty big. You can see it on the track map. Looks more like a Bristol or a Martinsville, or excuse me, yeah, looks more like a Bristol or a Martinsville for about half the track than it does the normal tracks we go to, where we see everybody kind of clumped up. Look at the spread. I mean, it looks like some of the positions where there's maybe a little bit of battling right now. Van Schaik and Woodby. This could get a little interesting here. Woodby certainly tracked him down a little bit quicker than I was expecting this 92 to. And the 92 of Woodby right now. Ooh, he slipped up a little bit there. That's going to allow Van Schaik to put a little bit of a gap between them again. And this turn here, I feel like we haven't had a chance to ride on board much through this corner. This is such a tricky one because, again, these cars don't have a lot of downforce. So as you work through that corner, the car is so light and it feels like it wants to spin. At the same time, you're trying to get on the throttle. It's such a tricky corner to get through, all while knowing that on the exit, you got to get ready to set yourself up, because that turn, kind of that kink rather, that leads into this long back straightaway is what awaits you ahead. But Clinton Woodby looking pretty smooth right now. Now I say that, and he's looking to look like he's struggling just a little bit on exit, but overall the 92 doing a pretty good job here as he still runs inside the top 5, looking to see if he could potentially close up here to battle for a 3rd place position. And further back, we've got Mark Beverly and Michael Newman. These two hanging separated by about half a second right now. Michael Newman has the position, but we'll see how long he can hold on. Mark Beverly's putting a lot of pressure on this 12 to not make a mistake, and there it is. Michael Newman's going to make the mistake, and that allows Mark Beverly to capitalize. He'll get around, and that now moves Mark Beverly up to the 6th position. Evan Schilling, who sits back in 8th, he's up 6 positions from where he started this race at. Matthew Fritz back in 9th. Again, we mentioned first half of this race, I guess I should say first third or so of this race, was so good for Fritz, who was able to lead some laps at the end of the stage and grab that stage victory. Went in, was going to have fresher tires than Trailer as they came out of the pits. Looked like he was going to have a great shot, but got caught up in traffic in trying to get around that traffic on the restart. Got pinned further back, and fortunately for the 27, he just really hasn't been able to make it back up since. And so as he sits in 9th, his teammate Jay Stinson runs behind him in 10th. And then it's Jonathan Dominic's back in 11th with Roger Strickland in 12th. Jesse Wise in 13th with Keith Prince in 14th. Then you've got Colton Hardy in 15th, Haas Beverly in 16th, and Andrew Hansley in 17th. And by the way, those two cars, of course, retired from the race, as has Keith Prince after that damage he sustained from hitting that outside concrete wall. Jesse Wise, who also had a heavy contact, came in, you believe used a fast repair. Yeah, sure enough, he did. Got that car cleaned up and was able to return on to the racetrack. Back up front with David Trailer, you see Roger Strickland up ahead. That will be the next car that he will try to set up to put a lap down. And so for David Trailer here, he'll be coming to 8 laps to go. And that is still 32 miles worth of racing for David Trailer to grab the checkered flag here tonight. We talked about the schedule, we talked about points, and that means the only thing that we await is to see who's going to be crowned the champion here tonight of the road course. And, I mentioned if you're just tuning in here tonight, but if this is kind of the first time you've tuned in for this season and you're wondering what the rest of the seasons look like up to this point, well, it all started with the Clash, where Clinton Woodby went to victory lane at Atlanta. Then it was off to Daytona for the season opener. Noma Motorsports got the job done there with Joey Hickox. Then Noma Motorsports went back-to-back. Joey Hickox went back-to-back. He got the job done at Nashville. And then Noma Motorsports was able to keep the crown for 3 in a row, as it was Kenneth Redinger who got the win at Chicagoland. Last week was supposed to be, I believe it was Phoenix. But of course, that race did get canceled as a byproduct of Hurricane Helene and some of the issues that it caused for a lot of the drivers in this series. So Joe Yates still sitting in that second spot. He's about 12.5 seconds back, as Charles Van Schaik is hanging right around 4 seconds or so back from Yates. With 8 laps to go, he still has a chance here to catch him. He's going to have to start picking up time here pretty quickly, as we now look at Clinton Woodby rocking down the first of the 2 back straightaways. Currently sits in 4th. Jesse Calloway back in 5th. Mark Beverly in 6th with Evan Schilling in 7th. Michael Newman still in 8th, but he's actually back down the pits here. What is this for Michael Newman here? Did he get some sort of damage? He did not, but the 12 car, this seems a little unscheduled here, has brought it back down the pits. We'll see what he decides to take right here as he pulls into his box. Let's see if it's a 4-tire stop just to try to get some fresh rubber on that car. Looks like we see the left side go up. We'll see if we see the right side go up as well. And sure enough, we do. So the call is going to be 4 tires, and I don't think he's going to worry about filling it up with fuel. As, of course, the road course is the one track where if you don't need fuel, you don't want to take it. Makes you a little bit lighter and a little bit faster. And so as David Trailer was able to get around Roger Strickland, that puts him a lap down. There is now only 11 cars remaining on the lead lap. The next 2 up to go a lap down would be Jonathan Dominics, and then, of course, Michael Newman, who we just saw make a pit stop that last time around. David Trailer looked in really, really good through the uphill section. I mean, it's been dominance. I mean, what else can you say? I talked about Matthew Fritz kind of being a main, I guess I should say playing, can't think of the word for it. Either way, he was a factor in this race. and was kind of playing havoc. That's what I was looking for towards the end of that first stage. Traylor decided to try some strategy, which worked out great for him, but, I mean, once Fritz made that mistake early on the restart for this final stage, it's been all David Traylor, and it has not even been close. I think Yates was able to hang with him for maybe a handful of laps or so, and by hang with him, I mean keep from going 2+ seconds back, but then after that, Traylor just started stretching it out, and he has not looked back since. Now, did notice the gap there for Van Schaik, and Yates still hanging pretty close, although I believe that Van Schaik has maybe closed it up just a little bit more now. Don't know still if he's going to have enough time to get all the way to the 87 of Joe Yates, as they'll be coming to 6 laps to go next time, but he's going to continue to try it here as David Traylor into the heavy braking zone. And for the 54 to not find victory lane yet this season, even though it's early, it's got to be a little bit of a surprise just because of the success that he had last season and the momentum he started to get towards the end of the year. Of course, getting the job done and winning the championship. And boy, he would love nothing more than to go back-to-back. And to do that, it all starts with that first win that you grab on the season. And it's looking more and more like tonight will be that night for David Traylor if he can make this thing official. To do that, though, he's got to, of course, get to the white flag, as we sit about 6 laps away from that point. And it'll be just 24 miles remaining once David Traylor crosses the line this next time. And how about the setups that these guys ran here? Again, it's fixed setups, but we ran a couple onboard views, and I mean, they certainly look like they have been a handful. Now, I will say, you notice that Traylor has been very, very smooth and maybe even a little bit slow through that kink. But that kind of risk mitigation in terms of risk versus reward, he hasn't tried to overdo it, and it's worked out best for him. I mean, all the other drivers that we've seen maybe run a couple laps faster than this 54. I mean, they've been all over the place, loose, out of shape, trying to hold on to it. And so they've had speed, but at the same time, I mean, you look at it and the speed translates to a couple laps and then they fall off. David Traylor, especially in this final stage, has done a great job of making sure that he manages his tires so that he's had something to work with when he has needed it most. All right, back up the hill he goes. It'll now officially be just 6 laps to go here at Road America. Joe Yates, Charles Van Schaik, you can see him now, same camera view on the same straightaway. That gap all of a sudden now has closed to almost 1.5 seconds, as Van Schaik is actually, it's under 1.5 seconds now, it looks like. Boy, Van Schaik, I don't know if Yates made a mistake or what, but Van Schaik has really, really closed the gap on him here. So we'll hop on board here for a lap with Van Schaik and see if he's got enough here to potentially get up to the back bumper and make a pass here on Yates before this race is all said and done. And I mean, for Joe Yates, he's going to start seeing that bright SpongeBob-colored Chevy Camaro. Actually, it's a Ford Mustang, but you can't miss that there. He's got SpongeBob on the side, and once he gets close, he's going to try to get Yates to make a mistake. And if Yates doesn't make one, he might try to force him into one, maybe use a little bit of the bumper, but with how quickly he's closing here, he may not have to worry about that. This may be a setup where Van Schaik can just try to get by him in one of these heavy braking zones. As I wonder if this 23 had maybe been saving a little tire until we got to the point where he felt like he could really push the pace, be able to be fast from that point on. And so it will be 5 laps to go once Traylor crosses the line, and here comes Charles Van Schaik. He has almost gotten to the back bumper now of Joe Yates. The gap was about 1 second, maybe a little bit over when we started this lap. Now it's down to about 0.5 seconds. Joe Yates clips the grass. That gives Van Schaik another look. He'll try to peek here into the carousel. He won't be able to do it that time, as we had some trouble here as those two battle it out. Watch some of the issues we had back here. One for Roger Strickland and then one for Jesse Calloway here. And for Strickland, was it just getting a little too hot into the corner? Yes, it was. I think he's going to overshoot and just get into the gravel here. And then, yeah, that's pretty much all it was. Woodby overshoots a little bit too. And, actually there was a little bit of contact between those two before Strickland was able to get back going. And then for Jesse Calloway, let's see what this issue was as well. It never made it up the hill. Oh, there he is. And, similar situation. Just overshoots and then starts to get a little loose. Back end spins around and he goes for a ride in the grass. Has to loop it back around and will be able to continue on. Certainly cost him some time. So as we do go back live now, Van Schaik was able to complete the pass on Joe Yates. So he will take that spot as he now officially moves up to the 2nd position. Joe Yates going to try to hang on to 3rd as David Traylor is looking to hold on here for just 5 more laps to write his name in the victory lane column here tonight, get the job done at Road America. And with just 5 laps to go, we're going to go ahead and take one more break. We will be back for the finish. Stick with us as we go side by side at Road America.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing. Three by three. Almost all trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. Finish. Who gets it at the line? Cody Nagels wins it at Talladega.
Welcome back to the Muehlberger Custom Homes 140 at Road America. There's the onboard look with David Traylor, the man who currently leads the way and is just 3.5 laps away from getting the job done here tonight. If you're just tuning in or you've been tuning in, we appreciate you being here as we get ready to wrap this one up. 140 miles, but boy, it felt like probably double that. And I'm sure it felt that way for a lot of the field here tonight with how much they struggle with handling. And, of course, the only guy who hasn't was David Traylor. We mentioned Charles Van Schaik making his way up to second. And he may have been slowly but surely closing on Traylor, although it's not going to matter with only 4 laps to go. He would need Traylor to make a major, major mistake to make up over 8 seconds worth of time. Yates still in third. Clinton Woodby is back in fourth right now. Jesse Calloway in fifth. And you've got Mark Beverly in sixth with Evan Schilling in seventh. Matthew Fritz back in eighth. Jay Stinson in ninth. Michael Newman currently rounding out your top 10. Jonathan Dominic sits in 11th. Roger Strickland in 12th with Jesse Wise in 13th as he currently sits in the pits. Says, looks like Wise had an issue. You can see the damage to the front end of that car. Not sure when this happened here for Jesse Wise. Let's see if we can find out here. Oh, man. That's a really odd area. If he hit the tires where I think he may have, or did he just bring it to a halt? What happened here for Jesse Wise? Yeah, he was stopped in the grass for quite a while. The 69 machine. I mean, he's just sitting there. Okay, so this happened a little bit ago, but I'm more trying to figure out why he set through that one. But here he goes. He gets off the turn, gets into the grass, and loops it around, tags the outside tire barrier, and then just loops it back around, and he hits the wall again. So that's what happened there for Jesse Wise, is that after the initial contact, he was okay. He had some damage, but then as he was trying to get back up to speed, he lost it again, looped it around a second time, and that was the kicker, the one that really did all the damages. Let's see here. Watch the 69 as he comes off the final corner and into the tire barriers. Kind of a tank slapper. He's probably okay if it didn't break the suspension, but then right here as he gets in the grass, tries to get it back up to speed, loops it around again, and there's that big hit That's going to total that race car, ends his night, sits there for a while, and then eventually retires to the pit. So that now puts us down to just 12 cars still running in the race. And of those 12, we've got 11 of them currently being scored on the lead lap. Meanwhile, David Traylor looking to take 2 laps to go when he crosses the line next time, as we'll hop back on board with him here for another lap. As a 54, again, we talked about he's just been smooth as butter all night. You watch the gear shifts here. Second and third gear are going to take most of this racetrack besides the straightaways, of course. As you see him shift up to third, he's not quite going to make it to fourth before he gets back down to second, as he'll take the left-hander before heading off towards the carousel. You see the Speedville, sponsored by Johnsonville sign as he works his way through. Again, about mid to upper 80 miles an hour through the carousel before you start to really put the hammer down and set yourself up for this kink. And this kink has been the downfall of many, many drivers here tonight. One of them that it hasn't been a downfall to, though, is David Traylor. He's been really good through here. Hasn't had any issues, at least not as of yet. But you know what you saw right there was a little bit of wheel movement back to the left through that right-hander. Finally, the tires may be starting to fall off to a point where maybe David Traylor is starting to struggle with the handling a little bit as well. And I would think that that's maybe part of the reason that Van Schaik has closed up. David Traylor, knowing that he's starting to struggle with the handling, maybe is taking it a little easy. He knows what that gap is, and he's just concerned about managing it. He doesn't want to overdo anything here and accidentally put himself in a bad situation, so he's just going to try to take it nice and easy. He'll keep an eye on that gap, and as long as Van Schaik isn't able to close up within probably a second, then he will be good to go by giving up the amount of time that he's given up each lap right now. As he works back up the hill and down the front stretch, it will now officially be 2 laps to go. And that leaves us just 8 miles remaining here at Road America. Charles Van Schaik in second. Talked about that gap being under 6 seconds. Needs Traylor to make a big mistake, but don't officially count him out just yet. We'll have to see what that gap is at the end of this lap. Joe Yates, who still sits in third, would be working through the uphill chicane. Then you've got Jesse Calloway back in fifth. No real battles at the moment. Matthew Fritz in seventh. Decent recovery for him as he was able to pick up a few more spots after taking his fast repair. Then you've got Evan Schilling back in 8th, Jay Stinson in 9th, and Michael Newman rounding out your top 10. Dominic still in 11th, and Roger Strickland in 12th. And as we kind of noted, you can see it on the track map, there is really officially kind of no more racing going on between anybody. The closest two are Fritz and Schilling, who sit in 7th and 8th. Everybody else is spread out by enough to where they really can't even see each other at the moment. And so that gap now between first and second, Van Schaik, he's got it down to about 4.5 seconds. I think realistically, for him to have any chance here, he would need to get it down to probably about 2 by the time this lap is over. And at 23, boy, he's wheeling and dealing here. I'm watching him. He's starting to really push the pace now in this 23 car. Top on board here with Van Schaik for a few corners. As again, if he's able to get it down to 2 seconds, at some point, Traylor's going to have to notice that, but I think David's taking it conservative. Van Schaik's on the opposite end. He says, you know what? I've got over a 10-second gap on third place. I'm going to go for it here. And if it doesn't work out and he wrecks, he's probably got enough time to still limp it back to the finish. And so he's got to hit that corner perfect. He doesn't. He overshoots it. That was one of the issues that a lot of drivers had tonight. He was trying to push it deeper and deeper, and he finally broke the limits. And that's going to probably end his chances. Van Schaik is now going to fall to over 4.5 seconds back from David Traylor. And he'll try to regroup now, but might just settle into rhythm here and make sure he can hold on to a solid second-place finish. Meanwhile, David Traylor working down through the gears as he'll go through the last corner and climb the hill again. And this is what he's been waiting to see pretty much all night. Flagman has a white flag in the air, and you know what that means. 1 lap to go at Road America. David Traylor, just 4 miles remaining to grab the victory here tonight at one of the most technical road courses in the series. And a track that was quite a struggle for quite a few drivers. The one man who did not make any mistakes, and he might have an X or 2 for an off track here and there, but that would probably be it. I mean, David Traylor, not a scratch on that race car. Not a fast repair needed to be used. He played his strategy right. Didn't grab stage points, though. Decided to set himself up to be in position to win this race. Strategy worked out well. You see Van Schaik in the background there. He's closed it back down to under 4 seconds. And if you minus the gap that he lost when he made that mistake last time, he would probably realistically be in position to potentially challenge Trailer, but with how far back he sits right now, just don't think realistically that it's going to happen here for Van Schaik, although he's got a bit fresher tires still. And so we'll see. He would have to pull off something pretty crazy desperate here, and he'd have to pull it off pretty soon, but that's going to do it. Man, and that's the second time right as we could have looked at him. He makes a mistake. Van Schaik, same corner he had trouble with earlier in the race. Same deal, almost spins it out, has to lock it down. He falls back to over 8 seconds back, and that is the last sign that David Trailer needed to see to know that all he's got to do from this point is just coast it home. He's good to go on fuel. It's just about not making a mistake here, as he's going to be coming up on about the last half, the last quarter of this racetrack. Trailer sets himself up for one more time through the high-speed kink. This has been the danger zone all night. Can he get through it clean? Yes, he can. Now he's on to the final backstretch before he will head to the uphill section before he takes the final turn uphill to the checkered. David Trailer fire out of the pipes. There's a lap car ahead, but I don't believe that the 54 is quite going to make it there with the amount of track that he has remaining. So as he works through the uphill chicane, leaves now just a couple corners to go. David Trailer, it's been a long one here tonight. He had to find a rhythm, and he was able to do just that. Here he comes to the final corner. He'll climb the hill one more time, and look at this. David Trailer at the road course. He's going to get the job done. The number 54 was dominant all night. First win of the season for David Trailer is going to come at Road America. He gets the win, does it in dominant fashion. And he is going to stop the streak that Noma Motorsports had been putting on over the course of the last 2 to 3 races, as he will put White Knuckle Racing in victory lane for the second time this season, and the first time during the official season. Of course, Clinton Woodby got the job done in the Clash. But nicely done there from David Trailer. Van Schaik finishes in second, and then it's Joe Yates rounding out the podium. All right, well, as he brings it around to celebrate, let's see if we can take a look at your finishing results here. And actually, they're still coming in at this current moment. So we'll wait as Trailer continues to ride around. And as Trailer does so, I mean, what a crazy race overall. But, I mean, for a field that small, the racing product that they put on was quite impressive. I mean, that was a fun one to watch. That was a fun one to call. And once things got spread out, I'm sure as a driver, it became a fun one to race because you kind of were racing against yourself and the clock. But David Trailer, tonight was his night. And as he goes to victory lane, you wonder if this is going to be that light switch that the 54 had to flip for him to really get rolling. Kind of happened last season. The only difference was it was late in the season. And with it being this early this season, see if the 54 can start to rack up a few more over the course of the next couple weeks. So we've got some good tracks for him coming up. And now we know who our road course ace is, as it was indeed David Trailer. Still have a couple of drivers crossing the start-finish line, so don't get our finishing results just yet. The 54 going to bring it all the way around before he will do a burnout, most likely on the front stretch. And then don't forget, we will go grab your top 3 for interviews before we do officially wrap things up here for the night. And so, looks like still waiting for a couple here to finish the race. I believe Jonathan Dominics is... Oh my goodness, Roger Strickland destroying this car here. As the race was over, he decided to go for it here, and... Oh man. Well, Strickland destroys that car, but now it looks like this Jonathan Dominics is going to work up the hill, and he will officially cross the line. That's the last car to do so, as that will make the race official. And there, our results are in. David Trailer's your race winner. Charles Van Schaik brings home second. And then it's going to be Joe Yates in third, Clinton Woodby fourth, Jesse Calloway in fifth with Mark Beverly in sixth, Matthew Fritz seventh with Evan Schilling in eighth, Jay Stinson ninth, and Michael Newman rounding out your top 10. Jonathan Dominics in 11th, Roger Strickland 12th, Jesse Wise 13th with Keith Prince in 14th, Colton Hardy 15th, Haas Beverly in 16th, and Andrew Hansley in 17th. All right, David Trailer brings it. He's going to burn it down in front of the virtual grandstands, and as he does so, we'll go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Road America. All right, welcome back to Road America. Going to kick things off tonight with your race winner, the number 54 of David Traylor. David, this is all set up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, we had a chance to talk to you at the stage break there. You told us the strategy that you had in mind. You said that you didn't know how to pass. Well, you didn't have to worry about it there. You got out to such a big lead. You never had to look back. Tell us a little bit about how you're able to put on such a dominant performance in that final stage to bring home the win.
Like I was talking to my teammates there, it was really just minimizing mistakes. It's super easy to miss one of the hard braking zones and fly off the track, end up in the sand trap. So I kind of just went conservative the whole race. If I would have had to push harder to try to make a pass or something, I probably would have overdrove it and made a mistake. But keeping it on the track was really the biggest thing. I think from what it sounds like, just about everybody behind me at one point or another went through the grass or the dirt. I did a couple times, but I just tried to get it straight back on the track as fast as I could. And like I said, just being patient, taking your time. There's plenty of time to make mistakes and plenty of time to pick up ground here. And just wanted to keep the nose clean, and that's what we did.
Absolutely. And now that you got that first win out of the way, do you feel like this kind of changes the mindset from last season where it took a little bit longer to finally get that first win out of the way, and now you've got it done early in the season?
Yeah, it definitely helps. I've never won this early in the season. I still want to go win more races, but it definitely takes the pressure off. In the event, I keep finding second or third, or I'm bound to have some bad races this season. So it's nice to know that all I got to do from here on out is show up, and we can race for a back-to-back championship.
Absolutely. Well, hey, David, we appreciate you talking to us. So before we let you head out here tonight, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, first off, thanks to my new team over here at Loose Lug Nuts. Colton, Jesse Wise, Jesse Calloway, and Joe Yakes, a great group of guys. We had a great run as a team. Joe finished third. J-Cal had a top 5. Jesse and Colton didn't have the best race, but they showed up tonight, got some good points. That's all that matters once you're this early in the season. Thanks to Mark for this league on. I know not everybody likes a road course. I like to have the challenge. So thank you to him for mixing up the schedule. Thank you to you over at PGR. I love going back and watching the broadcast. I can't wait to go back and watch this one. Thanks to my sponsor, JC Newman Cigar Company. Great partner of mine. They're on the car pretty much permanently this year. So great to have them on board again. And then thanks to my wife for letting me do this, and my dad watching at home. And then shout out to anybody who had to go through the hurricane last week. My thoughts and prayers are with you.
And thank you for talking to us, David. Congrats on the win here tonight at Road America, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Austin.
All right, and now that is going to bring us to your second place finisher here on the night. The number 23, it's Charles Van Shake. Charles, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. Well, you bring home a second place finish here tonight, and boy, it looked like closing in on the end there. You had a couple of chances, but then made a couple mistakes. Do you think without the mistakes that you had a chance of getting to the 54?
I stink at road courses, so I'm not going to act like I'm good at them. I think I had I spun out. I went into the sand pit 3 times in the canopy corner. I went off in the Canadian turn 7 or 8 times. I spun in the sharp left-hander after the first hairpin or the tight turn there. If you count how much time I had to go to almost a complete stop, I probably should have lapped the field, but I'm sure David, being a smart driver, was conserving once he saw the idiots behind him running off course and spinning out. So who knows? I had fun. I was just talking to Joe. Me and him were beating and banging for a little bit, and he apologized for the 1 restart. I was like, dude, I don't even care. I like this track as in road courses because you can wheel it a little bit. I just don't like this car in road courses because you're a mile, 2 miles per hour over going into your braking point. You're just catching it the whole time, trying to make sure you don't go flying off into the tire barriers or the wall. So.
Absolutely. Well, it still works out, though, for you here tonight with the second place finish. 2 weeks, 2 good finishes. So before we let you head out, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thank you for the broadcast. Thank Mark and the Beverleys for putting on this league, letting me run. I know I had to get a little exemption there to run here, but and to David for his win, Joe for racing hard, Would-Be, and who was the one Noma car that was up there? Fritz. Good runs there, and then my company, Goat Racing Diecast. I won a league race last night, so anything GoatRacingDiecast.com, 20% off using Goat Racing 23. To my teammates at Goat Racing Diecast, and to Henry Boy's Setup Shop, who I joined with, and doing some cool things in open sets. But yeah, and to the field, man, I know it was tough. Tempers got a little out of control in the beginning, but all in all, I hope the broadcast looked good, and look forward. I don't even know where we're going next, but look forward, because it ain't a road course, so I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, Charles, thanks for talking to us here tonight. Again, congrats on the second place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
All right, now that's going to bring us to your third place finisher here tonight, the number 87, Joe Yakes. Joe, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Sure do. How you doing?
Good. Well, you bring home a third place finish. A lot of overall speed here tonight. We saw some battling between you and Charles Van Schaik there towards the end. First off, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, that was some of the most fun battling I've had on a road course. I'm sure you caught it on the broadcast when we were side by side through that carousel all the way down to Canada Corner. That was just really, really fun. Charles is great. We gave each other a little bit of room and kind of made a little mistake on the restart, but I apologize to him for that. We kind of wheel hopped it a little bit on the restart, but man, what a fun race. I love this racetrack. You know, I grew up in Wisconsin, so Road America is a pretty special track to me, and come out here and get a third place and kind of turn the season around. That was a lot of fun tonight. I like that.
Yeah, a road course, certainly the place if you're going to change the momentum to do it at. And, you know, you get that third place finisher tonight. Now we start to head back to some of the bread and butter tracks for most of the drivers in this series. So how do you feel about your chances next week, knowing that you got some momentum on your side?
Man, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I feel like I've had some speed the last couple of weeks, but things just have not kind of gone the right way. We had a strategy issue at Nashville, and then I had made a green flag pit stop. My wheel flew off my desk and got a speeding penalty there, so that kind of took me out of that one. But you know, coming and just getting this third place finish here, and I think I finally have that confidence back, that momentum, and man, I'm looking forward to bringing everything I got over the next couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Joe, before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate a good finish, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I just want to thank my Loose Lug Nuts teammates, Jesse Wise, Jesse Calloway, Colton Hardy, and David Traylor. We all, you know, put on a clinic tonight. We were all really good, and it was a lot of fun. And you know, I've been working on a personal project over on my YouTube channel. It's X87, and been making video guides for expeditions and mud runner games. So it's kind of the thing I've been working on. And yeah, shout out to everybody in the league here. It's a lot of fun here, and looking forward to next week.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, hey, thanks for talking to us again. Congrats on the third place finish, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Road America. What a race that one was, but more importantly, what a dominant performance and win it was for David. Traylor grabs his first win of the season, and so now he is going to be a threat going forward. Thank you all so much for tuning in here tonight. I hope, as always, that you enjoyed. That's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. Till next time, have a good night.